Hey everybody, Sean here, and welcome to Revealing Truth. As we can see, Mike Winger strikes again. And that person on the screen is Chris Reed, or Prophet Chris Reed, as the deceived would call him. And as usual, Mike does a great job of exposing him with a couple of new details we haven't shown before, like this one.
This guy right here is Chris Reed. And today you're going to learn about how leaders in the charismatic church have been allowing him to ruin people's lives. You're going to even hear testimony about how he, according to my witness, contributed to someone dying, got someone killed because of his prophecy.
All he could do was talk about the prophecy he got from Chris Reed. I watched him waste away and die, holding on to that prophetic word.
Now, that's just not acceptable in any way. And Mike's original title for this video is quite accurate. The Fakest Prophet, Drugs, Women, and Terror. There was an article put out recently that I didn't cover, but it was about Chris admitting that he was dependent on the drug kratom. Now, this hit home because I've got a friend that I've known for 40 years that now lives in Cebu, in the same complex I live, and he takes that kratom stuff every day. But this stuff is powerful, and because you can buy it over the counter, it seems like a better natural option. And as the article says, it is an addictive herbal drug that's used for pain relief and has opioid-like effects and is labeled as a drug and chemical of concern. I've watched my friend go from being a brain-dead zombie until he takes that stuff, and then he's pain-free, full of energy, and becomes very irrational in many ways. Could this be the reason for seeing off-the-wall outbursts like this one from Chris?
Once we get his image and likeness down, then he'll say, now I can trust him with my power. Hey, I feel good up in here.
Well, we can only speculate on the reason for such strange outbursts, but once again, it didn't take most of us this long to understand that Chris Reed is not only a false prophet and a false teacher, he's also being disqualified as a pastor based on him being exposed for his funny business. And sure, he apologized, but he didn't even tell the full truth and then exposed himself as an even bigger fraud. And amidst all this, he decides to leave Morning Star Church, working along false teacher Rick Joyner, and starts his own cult, I mean church. But according to God's standards for a pastor or overseer, Chris is disqualified because he's not above reproach, not to mention all the other qualifications in that passage. But for some reason, people just brush that aside, ignore God's word, and continue following this deceiver. Remember, Chris is another guest on the Sid Roth show talking about angel encounters and going to heaven's library and selling junk like how to activate all God's gifts. I wonder if you saw Brian Simmons there, or maybe Kat Kerr. And he's been proven over and over again to be a false prophet, punishable by death in the Old Testament, but fully acceptable with the false apostles and prophets in the New Apostolic Reformation today. Not to mention his other false teachings that you can see in his playlist here on Revealing Truth. So if you have 2 or 3 hours to go through Mike Winger's video, then definitely check that out. But if you're like most of us and don't have that much time, then check out his playlist here to find shorter videos that address these specific issues head on. And with that being said, we're going to leave it here for today, but feel free to leave your comments below. And until next time, take care and God bless.